My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm an associate real estate broker in the state of Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching in real estate. And today we're going to be talking about one of the most desirable real estate markets in the entire state of Alaska, and that is Eagle River. And we're going to be looking at the residential, the condo, and the multifamily market to really give you a good picture as to what's going on in this market and what some of the projections are moving forward. Before we get started, as always, give this video a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and let's go and jump into the market update. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is what's going on in the residential market, and what we're seeing on the residential market is specifically for the number of properties available. Is this time last year there were 55 properties available, and now we're looking at about 47. So more or less it's staying about the same, and that is about as low as we've ever seen the inventory in this market. Usually around this time of year we see around like 120, 130. So you can see by how much we've fallen to be like in the 40s and 50s range. Secondly, we see that the number of properties that have actually sold for the month of November was 31 last year, and this year it is 31. So not a whole lot of change there one way or the other, even with the inventory being slightly lower. Now, looking at the average sold price, this time last year we see it was about 468, and this year it's about 497, which means that we've actually seen about a 6.4% increase for the average sold price for homes here in Eagle River. And that's not a big surprise. It's a very desirable area because of the easy commute getting over to Anchorage or to J-Bear, which is the military base for Joint Elmendorf and Fort Richardson. So that's not a particularly big surprise, and just the inventory being as low as it is, it's not a surprise that the average sold price would be increasing at a faster rate than what the rest of Anchorage is doing. Let's take a gander at what's going on in the condo market. So this time last year there were 4 condos available, and this year there are 8. So condo market in Eagle River has never been particularly huge to begin with. It is going to be a growing asset class in Eagle River as we move forward because there's really limited space on how much we can build in that area because obviously a lot of zoning, and also just geographically there's a mountain and some limitations on what ground we can actually build upon. So condos are going to become more and more prevalent because I really doubt Eagle River is going to become less of a desirable place to live as we move forward. Now, for the number of condos that have actually sold for the month of November, this time last year it was 6, this year it's 2. So not seeing less condos are selling, yes. I think a big part of that has to do with the fact that, you know what, we'll save that for the summer. How about that? The average sold price for condos has gone up very, very, very slightly, over the past year, because this time last year was about 297,000, and now we're looking at about 299,000 year to date. So still the highest it's ever been. It did increase by about 1%. So that doesn't look like a whole lot. I suspect once we actually break it out and look at the resale value for some of these condos and looking at the brand new condos that are out there, I bet we see a higher appreciation than 1%. But this just kind of gives us a ballpark idea. Let's go ahead and take a break real quick here. For those of you who've been watching for a bit, you do know that I host a podcast called the Alaskan Journey Podcast, where I talk with people who've recently moved up here. You definitely want to go check those out because we have a couple of years worth of interviews with people who've recently moved up here, talking about their experience, what their likes and dislikes are, any advice they have. So if that's something you're considering doing, moving up here, then you definitely do want to go check that out. Even if you're just doing other stuff while you're listening to just hours and hours of people talk about this, then it's definitely going to be useful for you. Also, we're going to be starting up our monthly meetups here for those who have recently moved up here, and the link for that Facebook group is going to be in the description section down below, so you do want to go check that out. Without further ado, though, let's go and finish today's market update looking at the multifamily market. Now, what we see from the multifamily market is that this time last year, there were 2 multifamily properties available on the market, and now there are 4 for this year. So if you're looking at getting into the multifamily market here in Eagle River, good job. There you go. There's your opportunity. Now, looking at the number of properties that have actually sold, this time last year there was 1, and this year there is 0. Big goose egg. Not a big surprise. We have such a small inventory. You're not going to have a closing every month. Now, the average sold price for Eagle River, and with it being such a smaller sample size, and also with just multifamily in general, yeah, I don't think this is going to be too useful. But the average sold price was about $606,000 this time last year, and now it's about $429,000. Again, not very useful though, because the sample size is just so small. It's hard to extrapolate a whole lot of useful data from that if the sample size is only like a handful of properties, because really it comes down to, well, were the properties like a little duplex? Were they brand new? Like, which properties were we looking at? Because that makes disproportional importance as to the outcome compared to if we had like a big sample size here, and also multifamily property. So it's a little difficult to know how to read the average sold price for multifamily and Eagle River. I would expect to see actually a small appreciation for multifamily in Eagle River, and the reason for that is a very desirable area for investors just because the cap rate is lower, which for those of you who don't know, the cap rate is really used as a way to kind of be a headache gauge, if you would. It gives you an idea as to, okay, if I put in money over here, I may get a lower rate of return, but also I'm going to be taking on less risk. I'm going to have less headaches from dealing with a lot of problems with people. Once you invest money in Eagle River, in properties there, usually you're going to attract tenants where you're not going to be getting as much because you paid more for the property, but also you're not going to have to just constantly be on call taking care of crazy situations. So that's really the appeal of Eagle River. And also it's really hard looking at these stats to know if these are real and true multifamily properties people are putting on the market, or if it's something where somebody has some kind of a mother-in-law suite and they're like, oh, let's call this a multifamily property, even though it's not really a multifamily property. So you just really don't know. But let's go ahead and talk about the summary now. If you are a seller, what does this mean? Well, if you are a seller in Eagle River, you're in luck. The market continues to favor sellers because the inventory is so low. Yes, the interest rates are up, and who cares? The demand is still out there for homes, and the supply is hardly there. The interest rates going up has actually had kind of the opposite effect of what we would have thought. As interest rates go up, sellers hold on to their properties that they have with lower interest rates even tighter, which makes the inventory lower, which gives less options for the buyers who are out there looking for something new. So the appreciation is likely to continue going forward at about the rate that it is. The fact of the matter also is that we are just not going to see like a big flux of inventory anytime soon, just the way things are going. Now, if they suddenly have a ridiculous drop in the in the interest rate, that could have an impact, and they could shake a lot of sellers loose from the properties that they are currently in. But for the time being, say really for the next year and a half, 2 years, I kind of suspect that the inventory is going to remain as low as it is until we eventually cycle through all the properties that have those ridiculously low interest rates that everybody refinanced or purchased a couple of years ago. If you're a buyer, now is not the time to be nihilistic and giving up and angry and bitter and, oh, well, the market's all screwed up. My parents didn't have to deal with this, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little jaded listening to it all the time. Here's the facts. And here are the realities. Yes, the situation is not great. Yes, there are a lot of advantages that, past generations had and all that. And also there are a lot of advantages that you have right now. One of which being that we can get you into a home and get you on the other side of this equation. And that is going to help you a whole lot more than sitting on the sidelines all bitter and just waiting for a market crash to happen, which is not likely to happen anytime soon. Investors say all the time, it's not timing the market that's going to help you. It's time in the market where the actual money is. And that's kind of the mindset that's going to be good for you to have going into it. I'm obviously not talking to people where it doesn't make sense for you to purchase right now for your family financially. I'm talking to the people who have the capability of doing it and who are just told themselves that they're going to wait and be smart and wait for the market to crash. That is historically not how this is going to work, especially for Eagle River. Let me actually just show you this real quick, because I took some heat from some of you a couple of years ago when I was saying around 2020 that it was a good time to be buying and everyone was just going to wait for the market to crash. But This time in 2020, year to date, the average sold price was $391,000. Now the average sold price in Eagle River, $497,000. So that is a lot of appreciation that people gave up because they thought they were going to be smart and just time the market. So jump in and just ride it going up, and you'll be able to refinance later on here. That's probably about the best move that we can do moving forward. And big advantage to you is you do have historical perspective, and the control of your budget and everything else is going to be under your control. I know I'm stepping all sorts of toes today, so I'm going to go ahead and just end with that. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, reach out. We'll talk with you later.